the mainstream system of psychology and counseling failed me and a lot of other people during a dark time in my life. And then I realized that a lot of transformation actually comes from the body first. The nervous system is what's creating a lot of what's going on up in our head. If we can work with the body and work with things like breath work, then we can actually change the way we think, feel, and behave without having to spend hours and hours and hours in our head. Men are waking up to the fact that their conditioning from their fathers and their fathers and their fathers might not be the best way to go. They might actually, in fact, if they want to live a beautiful, rich life, understand that they have emotions, they're not robots.
Chris Payten is an Australian entrepreneur and master breathwork facilitator. He is the founder of Infinity Training and Coaching, an organization focused on breathwork certification and holistic health.
We've done some of the Wim Hof stuff. When you do the breath holds, you feel like you're on mushies, basically.
It's an altered state of consciousness,
Yeah.
and that's what breathwork is really creating. What's the most important skill in business? Is it marketing, sales, public speaking? What is it? What makes you the most money? Like sales, marketing, I'm like...
Chris, thanks for joining us, mate.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I've got a heavy hitting one to kick us off.
Let's go. Give it to
What's the single biggest transformation that you've been able to play a part within for your work in breathwork?
Mate, that is an incredibly hard question because it's literally what we do year in, year out, cohort after cohort. Like that's all we do. We see transformations all the time. So it's a hard one to answer because we see transformations on a personal level and also from a business perspective too. A lot of our students, they come through for personal transformation, but they also want to get out there and start their own business. So there's a few moments that really stand out to me, but one of our most successful students, her name's Brianna, she actually came into our training and her journey started with the biggest breakthrough that she's ever had in a breathwork session. She was able in that hour to break through a lot of her past wounding with men. And I got to hold space with her in that circle. We'd finished the session. She hadn't fully completed the session, that she was still visibly distressed. And I actually got to hold space as a previous past male figure for her while she just unloaded everything that she ever needed to say to this person. Wow. And to this day, she always comes back to me and she's like, that was the single most transformative experience of my life. And it like set the trajectory for everything that I'm doing now. So whilst I have them all the time, that one really stands out to me. And it was a really special one, to be fair. Hopefully that answers your question.
Mate, that's nailed it. Yeah. I'm trying to think now, what does that physically look like? Like I'd imagine there's physical changes in the body as well as the emotional. Mate.
Yeah. Like what it actually looked like was finishing up a breathwork session, very emotional, processing a lot of what had come up, but not fully getting there by the end. And so sometimes this happens. People can open a loop, something they've been suppressing for a long time, and we may not have just closed it. And so part of being a great facilitator is learning to recognize that in a group and making sure that when people leave the room, they're walking better than they walked out, walked in. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Mate, this is
all the way around. Yeah. So for her, it was just an invitation of, you know, what's there. And because she had the safety and the trust in the group and us, she was able to actually express and articulate what was happening. And she was able to revisit a very traumatic moment in her life and essentially close it off for herself. So yeah, what did it look like? A lot of cussing and swearing and me just holding space as this figure and allowing her the space to actually say what she's needed to say for potentially years. Yeah.
Wow. I'm keen as to dig into some of this.
Yeah, let's go.
But I want to zoom out.
Yeah.
So probably for us and for the listeners, at a high level, give us the overview of breath work and kind of in particular what it will actually do to your central nervous system to get a result and transformation like you did.
Yeah.
For Rihanna, was it?
Yeah. A great question. There's so many different forms of breath work, and this is what's really important to know. You've got functional breathing, which is working on your breathing from a day-to-day perspective, stress management, but then the type that I'm referring to here is transformational breath work, and it involves a lot of hyperventilation. So what's actually happening during one of those sessions is we're consciously putting ourselves into a stress response. We're breathing faster, we're breathing deeper than we normally would, and we're turning on the fight or flight system. Now, after a while of hyperventilation, what ends up happening is you dump off a lot of carbon dioxide as you breathe out. You breathe it out, you breathe it out, you breathe it out. And with that, you don't get as much oxygen into your cells because CO2 almost acts as like a transporter of oxygen. So then what starts to happen is your frontal lobes of your brain go quiet. and you get access to more of the primitive parts of your brain. And in those moments, people are able to actually discharge stored tension that's been sitting in their system, whether that's stress, traumatic events from the past, because they've got the human brain out of the way. So for Brianna, it was, removing the logical mind so that she could in fact access what was beneath the surface. So, breathwork for me, it's like a gateway. It's a gateway from the conscious to the unconscious mind.
Yeah, it makes total sense because we've spoken a lot about in previous podcast episodes when we're talking about fear and things like that of like starting a business. And it's just like the human brain is just conditioned to keep you safe and protect you at all costs. So that the kind of actual science behind that hyperventilation, turning off that human brain and you access the primitive brain, that's where you see those responses. It's cool. Like when we've done breath work before, you almost go into, we've done some of the Wim Hof stuff. And I almost find I'll go into like, when you do the breath holds, you go into like almost you feel like you're on mushies, basically.
It's an altered state of consciousness, and that's what breathwork is really creating, and that's why there's a lot of research being done into psilocybin-assisted therapy and things like this now, because it's not actually the breathwork, it's not actually the mushrooms, it's the altered state. And why is that so healing for people? Why is that so therapeutic for people? And the more I look at it and the more I research it, it's because we're getting the human brain out of the way.
Yeah.
The human brain keeps us stuck.
And there's two questions that come to mind there. Is one, do you feel like there's a big movement and awareness now of breathwork as opposed to 5-10 years ago?
Yeah.
And if so, why do you think now is the time where a lot of people are looking to find that altered state?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Well, I think two things come to mind. The first thing is that a lot of people are seeking help right now for mental health. And they're overstressed, they're overwhelmed, they're struggling with anxiety, depression, all these things are climbing higher statistically than ever. The traditional status quo that society tells us to do is, go and do counseling, go and do psychology. Nothing wrong with that. But a lot of the times talk therapy and things like this, it's working with the frontal lobes of the brain. It's working with the human brain, which is part of the reason why we stay stuck. So I think a lot of people are realizing that there's more to the piece of the puzzle than just talking, and they need a somatic-based, body-based approach, a nervous system-based approach to healing. And that's what it was for me. Like I felt like the mainstream system of psychology and counseling probably failed me and a lot of other people during a dark time in my life, which led me to it. And then I realized that a lot of transformation actually comes from the body first. The nervous system is what's creating a lot of what's going on up in our head. So if we can work with the body and work with things like breath work, then we can actually change the way we think, feel, and behave without having to spend hours and hours and hours in our head. So I think people are seeking it out more than ever because they probably don't have enough access to traditional help. Wait lists are super long. It's hard to get into. And then they might get in there and then they go, well, I don't fit with this therapist. And then they got to go find another therapist and then they got to explain the story again. And so I think people are just, they're curious. And I think they want to take the power into their own hands too. They want something easy, accessible, and, to feel like they have agency over their healing.
Are you happy to share that dark time and what breathwork did to you?
Of course, man. Yeah. So when I was 25, just after the birth of my second child, he was about 6 months old, I went through a separation, and it was probably the biggest undoing of me ever. I went from like a high functioning PT, was running a great business, and I went from really holding a family together to literally not being able to get out of bed. And it was really, really scary to go from one extreme to the other and not even recognize myself in that. And I got into a pretty dark hole. And I remember twice checking myself into the local hospital saying, I'm having suicidal thoughts. And they said to me, do you have a plan? And I said, no, but I can't stop thinking about it, and that's concerning. So they gave me a Valium and they sent me on my way. And it was a few years later that I lost my father to suicide after years of mental health and drug addictions, etc. And I realized that a lot of the way that we approach trauma and helping people is not working. So in that moment, when I got sent away, I remember having this realization of like, fuck, like I'm going to have to seek alternative ways of getting better because this is not it. So I was trying everything. Like I went to fucking energy healers, Reiki healers, like mushroom, like all the things, like psychology, antidepressants, tried it all. And breathwork was actually the last thing I tried. I had a conversation with myself and I'm like, if this doesn't work, then that's it. And I say that lightly.
Yeah.
I don't say that lightly because, I've had close people do that. But it was that day where I went up to the Sunshine Coast actually, and I did a workshop, and it was the most powerful session of my life. Within 45 minutes of breathing, I felt lighter than I had in years. And that's when I knew that I needed to pursue this and actually give it back. It was like this light bulb moment of like, no wonder I wasn't meant to find it till now. Like, that's why I had to like go through the darkness, try all these other things to find this thing. And then, ironically, here we are now running a business certifying people in it. So
it baffles me how, because it's the same story, very different context that we hear all the time. Someone has something go bad and they try and get outside just as about to give up.
Yeah.
That last thing, bang, and then there goes the graph, it goes through the roof. And it's so weird with the timing of things like that. And I always kind of say, it's always when you, like I said, you're at your wit's end, you're about to give up. And that might even be as something as menial as I've called 40 people today for recruitment, right?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, no one wants to speak to me today. And then that last call, when I'm going to go home, oh, fuck, I'll do one more.
Yeah.
That last call, hey, I need fucking 5 project managers. Great, come see me tomorrow. And you're like, wow.
Yeah.
It's almost the universe testing you going, do you want to give up?
100%.
And you go, no, sweet. Well, there you go.
100%. It's like, I've seen the picture online. You guys might have seen it. It's like a cartoon guy mining.
About,
and there's like a thin wall and the gold's there.
Yeah.
And one guy's leaving, but the other guy's going forward.
Yeah.
You're right. Like, it's like that in absolutely everything on small and big scales.
When you go back to that breathwork session and just that 45 minutes in, you just knew that was it, that lift. What do you put that down to? Because you tried a lot and you'd been through a hell of a lot of different avenues.
Yeah. I put it down to finally being able to actually feel and face what was happening within my body. And during that session, I was catapulted back to lots of painful moments in my childhood where I obviously at the time was storing it and finding ways to mentally check out. And all of that ended up compounding over my years into teenagehood and into adulthood. And, I just thought being anxious was normal and all these things. So I think what really highlighted to me in that session was that each and every one of us, we're all holding on to certain things. And whether it's stress or trauma or tension in our system, like we can't get away from that. It's just part of being a human being. So I put it down to, and especially as a man, being actually able to feel into some of those things that I was probably avoiding for all of my life without even having to say a word. That's what was so powerful to me. I didn't have to speak to anyone. I didn't have to talk about it, but I was able to feel it. I was able to process it. And man, like within 10 minutes, I was like ugly crying, where snot's coming out of your nose and like, it was full on, but it was exactly what I needed in that moment to actually, start healing, properly healing, not just intellectualizing my healing and understanding it, but like properly healing.
Before your second child was born then, and like you said, you're high functioning, how would you describe yourself then?
Like I'm constantly being driven by a motor, unable to slow down, ambitious, but probably masked with anxiety as well. So on the outside, go-getter, driven, but underneath there was always this humming of anxiety that was driving me along, and fear. Fear was always driving rather than inspiration. So I was able to achieve a lot, but it wasn't out of inspiration and feeling good. It was like, if I don't do this, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
So I had to, I look at like towards drivers and away from drivers. In the past, I was so away from, it was like away from fear, away from this, away from that, not really towards. So I guess from the outside, you probably would have described me as, like high functioning, anxious human being. Yeah.
I'm asking that because I'm thinking like, fuck.
I think I'm thinking the same thing.
But there's an awesome coach we worked with, Jess Cameron, been on the pod, Weapon of a Lady.
Yeah.
And she said kind of my thing is I live up here.
Yeah.
Like nothing gets below the neck, Everything, like you said, is intellectualized. I'm very logical. Okay, I'm feeling this. To get rid of that, I've just got to do this.
That means this. And
I'm very good at just like compartmentalizing and just running a million miles. So as you're talking now, I'm going, fuck, this sounds like we're very similar. Just before you had this.
I think men are like that too, naturally. Like a lot of men are wired that way. Still very logical, but this work has allowed me to not compartmentalize everything and not analyze everything and not make meaning of everything.
And we've also kind of almost bragged about the chip on our shoulder, right? And the fuel that gives us to go and
glorified
achieve.
It, didn't we?
You know, like we came on the AFR with the fifth fastest growing company in Australia last year. Huge.
So cool.
But what drove that? Probably wanting to prove people wrong.
Yeah,
as opposed to proving ourselves wrong.
Yeah.
I really relate to what you said about the kind of fear and anxiety and that being your performance, I guess, driver. And we discussed this with Lewis a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it's like early on in Harwell, all the energy and the passion came from that wanting to prove people wrong. It's just that desire that we've always been working class lads. And it's just like running away from that kind of past life. But now that can't drive you forever because it's exhausting.
It is.
And it probably got to just before Christmas where we've been running hard for 2.5 years and achieved so much. And it's not like we're ungrateful for that, but we both got to the point where when we stopped and actually rested and reflected over Christmas, we didn't really speak to each other for about a week, which is quite unusual for us.
Yeah.
And then when we kind of got back together, we were like, yeah, I think we took on a bit too much last year. Like we need to start looking after ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to, we were speaking with Lewis about finding our real purpose and our values and our drivers to then let's use that as our fuel to move towards that rather than all of this trauma, if you want to call it, that we're kind of pushing away from because it's not sustainable.
No, not at all. I mean, I think you probably heard Alex or Mosey probably say like, it doesn't matter what drives you as long as something drives you, like shame, fear, guilt, etc. And like, whilst I'm a massive fan, I don't agree with that because I think, you get to a point where you're like, I can't let this be the driver. Otherwise, what ends up happening is you get to where you want to be and you look back and you're not even really that satisfied because you're not doing it out of a place of inspiration. You're not doing it out of a place of desire and being ambitious. You're running away from something and you're trying to prove something. But I think every entrepreneur has that though.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the scar. You have it. And I don't think any of us don't not have that.
There's a good one. I think it was a Stephen Bartlett one with Chris Williamson recently.
Yeah.
And he said, whatever you need to use as your launch pad, like whatever chip on the shoulder, energy source you need to use to go from 0 to 10, do that. Yeah. But then when you get to 10, at some point, and I'm thinking a rocket ship is the analogy here, like the power you need to go from the ground into the sky is heavy. And then the energy source changes, right? And then some of the ship falls off. I'm not a fucking rocket scientist.
This is good. Mate,
Makes sense to me.
This is one of your better ones.
The thrusters kick in, different one, and then they get into orbit, right?
Yeah.
And then it's less energy then it's a bit more guided.
It's calm, isn't it? When you watch a rocket ship take off, it's the chaos in the early stages, and then it's just cruising around.
So at some point, what got you from the ground, to the edge of the earth, that's not going to get you then to Mars. If we're going with this analogy.
Absolutely not. I love it. You did great, man. Made sense to me. It was great.
When we speak to people about it, like, they've got a business idea and they're seeking advice from us because we've obviously gone some way through that journey. Yeah. I just say to them, like, this is the easy part. Actually starting and that kind of energy you have early on through whatever it is, that chip on your shoulder, that's the easy part. Yeah. It's the 2.5 years where you're like, okay, what's the next phase? Yeah. That's where it becomes difficult again and you have to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, everything stabilizes a bit, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
What got you there won't get you to the next part.
Bang on. In terms of your ideal client, the people you work with, are there people like us at this stage of business? Are the people who've done it for 20 years and they're kind of going, oh, fuck, this isn't what I imagine? Like, who's the perfect ICP?
Yeah, the ICP that we love to work with are coaches primarily, people who really seek to make a difference in people's lives.
Love it.
So we see a lot of people like Lewis. Like Lewis was actually the first ever person to invest in our training.
Wow.
Yeah, with the new company. So we see the likes of Lewis come through. We see a lot of aspiring coaches come through that are in a 9 to 5 and they're like, fuck this, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I want to have some meaning and purpose in my life. And so our business is set up in the way of you come and get the skills first. We certify you in breathwork. You learn to get good at the thing. And then once you've got the skill for the thing, now we teach you to actually go and grow a coaching business. Cool. So instead of just casting you out on the other side in no man's land, we actually have parts of our program that teach business.
I love it.
The nuts and bolts of business, getting clients, sales, delivery, all those things. So yeah, it's a one-stop shop. So I'd say like coaches is the ideal client, but we've had so many different types of people come through, nurses, physios, chiros, everyday people who just want to learn more about this tool. And that's the thing, like with breathwork, like it's the most needed thing on earth, right? You can't not breathe. So
what do you think's been the main mindset shift in the human race? Like you said, going back 10 years, especially as a male, things like that and opening up and healing are frowned upon, whereas now it's a lot more receptive.
Yeah, well, I think as a man, just sharing from my own perspective and the men that have come through our program, I think a lot of the men have realized that they can't just keep going the way that they're going. A lot of men end up, addicted to drugs and gambling and relationship breakdowns and everything because they don't understand themselves and their wounds. So I think as a collective, even as society now, I think people are waking up more. They're waking up a whole lot more. Men are waking up to the fact that their conditioning from their fathers and their fathers and their fathers might not be the best way to go. They might actually, in fact, if they want to live a beautiful, rich life in all essence of the word, understand themselves deeply, understand that they have emotions, they're not robots. And I think that that's the wave that we're seeing now. People just, they want more from their life.
Obviously, this is a very male-dominated conversation, right? Because we're all three blokes. But do you feel like a woman's preference in terms of what she wants in a man is probably someone who's a bit more in tune to that, as opposed to maybe the generation before us? They just wanted a strong man to go out, work and make money, and the woman would stay at home and feed the kids. Very different these days, right? Women are flying in careers, they're getting qualified in awesome degrees, and they're earning just as much, if not more, than the male. So what they actually want in a partner isn't necessarily that strong figure. They want an actual partner, a co-partner,
Yeah, I think they want someone who's all-rounded. They're a bit of an all-rounder. Like, they can work at the things that they love, they can provide, and they understand themselves. They're emotionally intelligent, they're aware. Because obviously, from a woman's perspective, that helps them feel more safe in a relationship. If a man understands himself and he's safe, well, she feels safe. But if he ignores everything he ever feels and shuts down and isolates and runs away, and that's not going to create much safety in the relationship at all. So I think, women are definitely wanting men that are more emotionally in tune these days. And every time we're in the training room and there's men doing the work in there, the women are always in tears. They're like so grateful that there's men in the room doing it. We hear it all the time. They're always like, thank you for being in these spaces and doing this work and actually making a change in humanity for men.
Wow.
They appreciate it a lot.
What's the typical split?
Initially, when we started, guys, it was like 90 to 10. Like, it was a lot of females coming through. And then slowly but surely, we've started to probably see it at about 60-40.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like, men of all sort of backgrounds coming through. We have ex-veterans coming in, like hard men that have been through a lot, tough exteriors, had to mask a lot. They're even wanting to seek what's happening under the surface now. They don't like the way they feel. And traditional forms of therapy and things like that are not necessarily helping some of them. So they end up in our room and they want to give back, which is, it's really cool to see it shifting, because I think men play a really amazing role in healing. And especially for some women, they might need a man to hold that space for them while they go through that process, especially if the wounding's been done by a man. So we do need more men in the space. Yeah.
When you were sharing your story and where you got to, me and Ads were both thinking the exact same thing of, that sounds quite familiar. How can someone, or what are the signs that someone can look for that might show that their nervous system's dysregulated? And
great.
Probably typical signs where, again, from the external, people think we're super successful and high achievers, and we definitely are. And there's days where I feel like the Hulk and you can take on the world. And there's days where you feel like, Jesus Christ, this is hard and heavy.
I think to break this down really simply, and this is what we teach, your nervous system has 3 states. So you have a hyper-arousal, which is up, fight or flight. You have hypo-arousal, which is down. And then you have the middle zone, which is called ventral vagal. These are just terms for the body. And that's the green zone. This is your window of tolerance. This is where you're engaged mentally and emotionally, and you're not stressed. Now, with the stress states, hyper and hypo, when you're fight or flight, you're going to notice, your heart's racing, you're hypervigilant, you're snappy, you're short, your temper, it's up. With hypo, you're going to notice that you feel flat, numb, lethargic, etc. And the way the nervous system works is we can only tolerate a certain amount of stress. So initially, you'll end up here. So you'll go up first. And then if you can't regulate through the up, you'll end up down. If you think about an animal in the wild, there's plenty of videos out there that show how the nervous system works. There's a larger animal attacking a smaller animal, and then it plays dead. Because in that moment, it knows that it can't fight or flight. It can't run, it can't fight, it's overpowered. So then the nervous system tips into its next layer of protection, and that's shutdown, it's freeze, it's immobilization. And that happens to humans as well, but on a smaller scale. And that looks like when you're doom scrolling, the smallest things feel like they're a mountain effort to do. Like, all of these signs is that your nervous system is dysregulated and you're actually in more of like a functional freeze. So it's about looking at the 3 states and going, all right, these are the symptoms I'm experiencing when I'm in fight or flight. These are the experiences that I'm feeling when I'm down. And how can I use tools like breathing and movement to actually shift states and get back into this functional zone, into my window of tolerance? And it's probably the most powerful part of what we teach, because once people realize that they're not victimized by the state that they're in, and they actually have a tool like literally right under their nose to shift it, agency again. What do you mean I don't have to feel like that for days? What do you mean I don't have to be like that? What do you mean I can change the way I feel in literally a matter of seconds? It's wild to them. And it seems like such simple knowledge to me, but when we teach it to people that have not learned this, they're mind blown. They can't even believe the fact that they can just use breathing, fast or slow, to literally be a remote control to their system. So yeah, I love that question, because that's one of the biggest things we teach. Learn to recognize what dysregulation looks like in each of those states, and then have some tools to be able to shift out.
Those tools, are they to increase that range of that middle tolerance phase, or is it to just be able to get yourself back into that, or both? Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Two Blokes, One Business podcast.
Now, apart from being world-class podcasters, we also run a recruitment agency called Harwell.
If you're keen to learn a little bit more about what we do, then head over to our Instagram at Harwell Group and check us out.
Back to the app.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, both. It's a combination of using them as a tool to get back there, but then also when you're back there, what are you doing in your life to challenge yourself? What are you doing that's hard? Because doing the things that are hard, i.e. you go for a hard workout, you jump in an ice bath, you do something that stresses the nervous system, and then you contain it with breathing. That is going to stretch the window of tolerance and make you more resilient. But where a lot of people are going wrong is they're already stressed, and then they're adding more stress into the bucket. Especially women, like we make sure that they understand that when it comes to like ice bathing and stuff like that, if you're female, it's probably not the best thing for you to do due to female hormones and the cycle, etc.
Yeah.
But even men, like you've got to think of yourself as like a water jug, and the body doesn't know the difference between different types of stress. Relationship stress, financial stress, workout stress, ice bath stress, it's all the same. All the same. And anyway, the bucket just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then eventually it spills. And that's kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. So it's about getting into the green zone. When we're in the green zone, now's the time to work on widening that window, so that when stress hits you again, you've got a wider window before you tip over the edge.
I see you wearing an O-ring.
Yeah.
As am I. How do you measure stress? And I know this is a bit of a loaded question because obviously the stats on there as well, but what's the data behind it? What's the right levels? Because I struggle with this just before you answer. Like 2026, my fit boy year is coming. I've actually fucked my back, so that's on pause for a couple of weeks. It's on pause. It's not gone. And I was fucking chat GPT and everything. I love this shit. This is my diet. This is my training plan. These are my O-ring stats. And he said, you're actually overtraining. He said, your body's in such a stressed state. That's actually killing you. So what you need to do is lay off. And if you stop training as much, you'll actually lose more fat. You'll actually put more muscle on because your body will respond to the training.
Yeah, exactly.
Which blew my mind because again, work harder, do more. If you're not giving everything you've got every day, you're not doing as well as you should.
In a lot of instances, less is more. Yeah. And even when it comes to workouts, like putting in a few hard sets as opposed to doing all this extra volume that you don't need. And prioritizing rest is really important. The way that you can definitely manage stress quite easy is to look at your HRV. Heart rate variability is like the best.
Mine on my Whoop.
Yeah. The best way to look at stress. On the Aura too, you'll notice every morning when you look at your sleep scores, you'll see where there'll be a little white dot along your HRV graph, and it'll show you where your lowest heart rate was throughout the night. Now, if that dot is further back, like closer to the front part of the evening, before midnight, then that's a sign that your resting heart rate's dropping quickly and your nervous system is responding well to stress and you're recovering well. But if you're noticing that dot is like 4 a.m. before you wake up and it's taking that long for your heart rate to hit the lowest, it's a sign that your system is actually quite stressed. So even just doing some simple things before bed, like coherence breathing, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, is scientifically evidence-backed, proven to drop your HRV.
How long would you do that for?
5 minutes.
Just 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out.
5 in through the nose, 5 out through the nose. You do that for 5 minutes and that has a positive effect on your nervous system for 4 hours.
Yeah, wow.
So if you do that morning, midday, early evening,
Yeah.
5 minutes, 15 minutes a day,
Shit.
it'll completely change the way you feel.
So your heart rate variability then, so that's obviously the variance from the top end of your heart rate that day and the bottom. The
Yeah.
bigger the variability, the worse the score?
Well, you want a higher HRV.
Yeah.
Because you want with HRV, you want to see these peaks and troughs.
Mm-hmm.
So even the greatest nervous systems, they're not, not affected by stress. They still feel stress.
Mm.
But what you want to see is when you spike, how quickly does your nervous system come back down?
Got ya.
So what you should see is these ups and these downs and quite a big distance between those up and down points. If it gets quite stuck and it's smaller distance between the up and down peaks, then it's showing that your nervous system is staying in a stress state and it's unable to regulate. Yeah. So low HRV is considered, your nervous system is stressed and you need to be doing something about it and managing that stress. But, as you said before, a lot of people are then going like, let's go again. Let's go to the gym. Let's do another workout. Let's do another ice bar. And they're actually making it worse.
I learned about this yesterday morning because on me, which I got at Christmas, I went to
Use code Harvey 10.
I wish. I went to Youngblood Sunday night in Brisbane and had a shit night's sleep. Got back late, not my normal sleep pattern.
Yeah.
And it said your HRV was 22% lower than your average. Early on you get the insights. So I was like on there scrolling and reading about it. And that's where I learned that, as your HRV drops, it's a signal that you're stressed. Yeah. And that impacts everything, like your recovery. Yeah. Incredible.
Brian, you guys know Brian Johnson?
I know he's in the biohacker.
Yeah. He's like insane. Like, go look at his stuff if you haven't. But he's such a big proponent of sleep. Like he's like, just sleep. And the best thing you can do for your health is lower your resting heart rate as low as you can before you go to sleep. If you could do one thing for your health, do that. And, sleep and your HRV are the two metrics that I look at every single day to see where my nervous system's at. And the beautiful thing about these devices now is we can adjust ourselves accordingly. Doesn't mean you don't have to train that day, but you can potentially just go and get some steps up and go for a walk. You don't have to throttle yourself with a big weight session. And you can start to really acknowledge that, you are a human being, you're not a robot, you're not invincible, and you need to recover.
How do you recover? What's the best way to recover?
Sleep. Sleep well. It's the first thing. Yeah. Don't overtrain. Yeah. Like train hard, but have equal amounts of rest. Breathe well day to day. And when I say breathe well, like not just conscious breath work, I mean working on your breathing to a point where when you're not thinking about your breathing, it's supporting your health.
What does that look like?
It looks like breathing a certain amount of times per minute. Do you want to know if you're over breathing? Yeah. Do you want to do a test?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Has anyone got a timer?
I got one.
I haven't got it on me. So we're going to start a clock for 60 seconds.
All right.
All you're going to do is count the amount of breath cycles you take in 60 seconds. So in and out is 1. Don't try to make it faster. Don't try to make it slower. Just observe.
3, 2.
Cool. And you're just counting your breathing. You're just noticing it moving in and out, and that's 1. In and out, that's 2. And whatever speed it's moving at, perfect. Just let it be that.
Might go 30 seconds and double it if that's all right.
Go 60 because it changes.
Cool.
He always does this.
You'll notice if you pay attention to it, your breathing shifts as well. That's why we want to do the full 60 seconds.
Well done.
Okay, how many?
20.
15.
Okay. You know the bad news?
Yeah.
You're both over breathing.
Oh, fuck.
8 to 12 a minute.
Really?
Yeah, wow.
Holy.
And that felt quite low and slow as well.
Yeah, I was like, I'm killing this.
Yeah.
8 to 12 a minute. And the reason why you want to be there is coming back to what I said earlier. When we hyperventilate, which is not just big breathing into a brown paper bag, hyperventilating is simply just breathing more than we need to. When you're sitting here at rest, there's no reason to be breathing more than 8 to 12 cycles in a minute because we're just relaxed, we're resting, we're not doing much. And as we start to breathe higher and higher, what ends up happening is two things. One, the sympathetic nervous system comes online more. Think about someone having a panic attack, they're breathing fast, real fast. The second thing is, with every breath you're taking, you're dumping out more carbon dioxide. And if you lose too much CO2, you actually can't get oxygen into your cells to help you reproduce energy. So then you've got brain fog. So then you've got a lack of energy. So then you're stressed. So then your body feels breathless and it needs to take more and more air. And it's this vicious cycle. And what's happening in today's society is that people are stressed. Stress increases people's breathing rate. They're not aware of it. So guess what happens to their unconscious breathing point? It just goes higher and higher and higher. And we've had people come in, they're like, I'm breathing 25 times in a minute. I'm like, are you fucking stressed? They're like, yes. Are you anxious? Yes. Okay, cool. And we give some really short, sharp, effective breathing tools to bring that down pretty well immediately.
Can we run through those?
Yeah. Do you want to do one right now?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So all you got to do for the next 60 seconds is pop a finger under your nose.
I reckon as we're doing this, just for the listeners, keep talking us through the science.
Yeah, I will. So place your finger under your nose and imagine there was a feather under there, all right? And now start to soften your breathing really, really light. And what you should feel as you're doing this is a little bit of air hunger, not a super strenuous amount, just a tiny bit. So what should be happening is your brain should be saying, hey, we're breathing lighter. I'm feeling a little bit of air hunger. You should probably take a bigger breath, but you don't have to. So just find that. Now, what's happening here as you're doing this is because you're breathing lighter and taking less air in and out of your body, CO2 levels are starting to rise in your blood. When CO2 levels rise in your blood, what's going to happen is we're going to reset the respiratory center of your brain. And so when we come out of this, your breathing rate is going to be lower. We'll come out of it and we'll retest it. What's also happening is as the CO2 gets higher in the blood, oxygen that's traveling through your body in your hemoglobin is now able to be released into your cells more efficiently. So it's two things. It's slowing down our breathing rate and it's the CO2 that's doing the magic here. Where are we at?
Done.
Cool. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to retest our breathing. So start another 60 seconds and just observe your breath cycles again. And just really tune in and notice what's happening to your breathing. You probably notice it's shifting a little bit. You probably notice you might be breathing a little bit softer and a bit lower. And you won't feel like you need to take that next breath. How you'll know you're breathing well is when you exhale, there'll be 1, 2, maybe even 3 seconds before your body takes the next breath in because it doesn't need more oxygen. If I was to stick a oximeter on you, you know, when you go to the hospital and they're measuring your SpO2, most times you're going to be 95 to 99% saturated with oxygen. So you don't need more air in. You need to stop so much air leaving the body so that the CO2 can do its thing. Just keep counting your breaths. You already see the difference in how you guys are breathing.
I was on 5 or
I did 5.
Yeah.
20 to 5. But more importantly, guys, like,
I feel relaxed.
yes.
Yeah.
Do you notice how you feel? Yeah. So with that, right now, oxygen is literally flooding your cells, including your brain. So when we think about being a business owner, thinking smart, making smart decisions, we need to turn this thing on properly. It doesn't work when we're stressed. And part of how we do that is breathing. And when we're breathing out of whack, you can bet your bottom dollar your system's stressed and then you're making shit decisions.
Yeah. What could a daily routine be then for someone? Obviously, we're all business owners and know the stress of it. Hopefully, a lot of the listeners are budding entrepreneurs or you know, going down that path.
Yeah.
How can we help ourselves on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. The answer is in learning to breathe less. So breathing retraining, where you're consciously reducing the amount of air coming into your body. So that exercise that you just did, feather breathing, right? Just imagine there's a feather there. Doing that 3 to 5 minutes, a couple of times a day, and then focusing on breathing through your nose and keeping your mouth shut is going to be the best place to start. From there, starting to incorporate some breath holding exercises. We actually created a full protocol. I can actually send it over to you guys.
Yeah, cool.
It's a combination of max breath holds with reduced breathing in between those breath holds. It's pretty strenuous, but you guys will probably love it because you know you're goal focused and action orientated. And it's great because you can actually write down your scores. Like this was my resting breathing rate. This was my pulse. This was my max breath hold. This was my max breath hold over a series of cycles. And then you can literally put it in a data sheet, in a spreadsheet, and see how your breathing is improving over time.
That's cool.
So I would say that, yeah, it's a mix of reduced breathing exercises, slower breathing, and breath holding is going to be the best way to enhance your performance. Outside of that, when you're seeing all this fast breathing stuff on the internet, the only time you really want to be doing that is when you're in a transformational breathwork session and you want to be putting yourself into an altered state. Outside of that, doesn't really have a purpose in people's lives.
So you're better off on a daily cadence doing that kind of slower breath routine and the breath holds rather than like the Wim Hof that we discussed that we've done, which is a bit more, I guess, high tempo and high stress.
Yeah, I think there's no right or wrong, but what's worth considering is that when we've got a bunch of society that are already breathing too much because of stress, and then we go and do the likes of Wim Hof, which just encourages more hyperventilation, we're ingraining a pattern of fast breathing. Whereas when we flip that on its head and we actually start to train ourselves to breathe less, then it's harder, it's more challenging, but from a functional perspective and from a day-to-day perspective, it's going to pay way better dividends on your breathing and your health.
And let's talk about mouth breathing, because you said that in and out your nose. I've got this horrible fucking trait when I'm like zoned into my phone writing an email. I'm like, and Mads gets the biggest ick at it. I'm like, oh fuck, I didn't even realise I'm doing it, eh? And she comes over and just lifts up my chin and it's just my mouth.
Can you do that again for us?
So what's wrong with breathing out your mouth? Why is it not good for you?
Well, it was made for talking and eating. That's all it was made for.
Yeah, okay.
Literally talking, eating, and drinking fluid. You know, looking at the function of the mouth as opposed to what the nose does for breathing, it's very clear that the nose was in fact made for breathing. So with your mouth, you know, you don't get all the benefits of what happens with nasal breathing. It's due to stress as well. People mouth breathe when they're locked in and they're stressed and they're really activated. You know, you'll probably notice it when you're more activated, the mouth hangs open, the body's trying to get more air, but that's the worst thing that you could be doing, but it's an unconscious habit.
Yeah.
Whereas the nose, you know, has so many functions. A couple of them, just to name a few. Firstly, your nostrils, they're 16 times smaller in airway size than your mouth and your throat. So just by breathing through the nose, you're breathing less. So when people come to me, they're like, I need to reprogram their breathing. First question, are you mouth breathing or are you nose breathing? I'm mouth breathing. Okay, first step, shut your mouth. Second step, breathe through your nose. Just by doing that, less air leaving the body. Second thing is in your nasal passages, it warms and humidifies the air. So when you're taking the air down into the lungs, it actually warms it up and it humidifies it. So if you're out, say you're in like Canada, somewhere like that, minus 15 or whatever, by the time that air comes in, minus 15 hits the back of your nose, your nasal passages have warmed it to positive 37.
Shit.
In a matter of seconds. To the human body temperature from minus 15 to positive. When you breathe through your mouth, doesn't happen. You've been for a run on a cold morning, that's why your chest fucking hurts. Really bad.
I went back to England last Christmas.
You would have felt
and
that.
I've been doing a lot of running at the time, and I remember going for a run and it felt like my lungs were bleeding for about 3 days.
Yeah.
Because I'd have been getting, it was a big run, I'd have been getting puffed.
Yeah.
And it was horrible. I thought I was dying for about 3 days.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
And a lot of people don't know about it.
Nah.
You know? They're thinking, I'll get more air into the body. And yes, you get more air into the body, but not the right way.
Mate, I heard him talking about him, Sumner, when he was like, he's a freak of an athlete. And he was like, oh yeah, 15K nose only breathing run.
Yeah.
And I was like, I kind of thought I understood, like, oh, I guess that must be good for you or whatever. But now this kind of makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
So you're using less oxygen, which means the oxygen you are breathing in is kind of working harder for you, which is then better for your heart and your lungs.
Well, you're utilizing more oxygen.
Yeah.
Because remembering that you've got 95 to 99% roughly saturated in your hemoglobin at any given time. And so what CO2 does is it's something called the Bohr effect. It essentially, you've got oxygen binded to hemoglobin, which is like a ferry inside of your red blood cells. And if you've got enough CO2, what it does is it allows that oxygen to be released into cells. And then when that gets into the cell, it recreates ATP, which is energy inside of the cell. So if you're overbreathing and pushing out a lot of CO2, it actually holds on harder to the hemoglobin. It doesn't release as efficiently. So when you're nasal breathing during exercise, what we're doing is we're actually bringing up levels of CO2 in the blood, which means that more oxygen can be dispersed, so you can keep creating energy more efficiently. And even with breath holding, guys, it's so fascinating. If you do 5 strong breath holds, like strong breath holds before you exercise, your spleen will actually contract and dump more red blood cells into your system for the next 10 to 60 minutes. And so with more red blood cells, you have more hemoglobin, which means you can carry more oxygen and deliver more of it to the cells.
Perform better.
That's exactly right.
So I think in sporting then, if we played football, so before the game, if we're in the changing rooms, if we'd have gone and done that.
Breath holding.
Wow.
For the next 60 minutes, you're at a different level.
Funny you say that, because my whole fucking career was built around getting to that hyper aroused state. Yep. Being a bit mental and a bit crazy and shouting and screaming. I thought that's what I needed to do to play well. But actually, that's probably going against me a little bit physically.
I thought you were going to say that you couldn't run. I can't run. It wasn't because you weren't doing breath holds.
It would have went against you in 2 ways. Like physiologically, with that enhanced state of arousal, you would have naturally just been breathing more, losing more CO2. Secondly, your frontal lobes would have been not working as well as they could have. You need to be calm. You need to be like calm focused.
Yeah.
That's when you perform your best. Not really hyper aroused, like calm focused in the zone. That's the flow state, right? You know, when you're energized, but you're locked in and everything's working as it should. Yeah.
There's 2 things taking Instagram by storm at the moment that I'm seeing a lot of the old influencers getting into, and I'm sure you can give us the actual science behind it. The bloody nose clip things.
Yeah, the goats.
Yeah.
And tape in your mouth when you go to sleep.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's just emphasizing the importance of nasal breathing. Both of those 2 things. The nasal dilators open the nasal passages wider so you can get more air in through your nose. That can be really helpful for people if they've got, obstruction issues and things like that. Mouth tape is to stop the bad habit of mouth breathing, especially at night. Mouth breathing at night, because you're not aware of it, leads to snoring, leads to apnea, leads to shit sleep. You don't recover. And mouth breathing in itself activates the stress response. So if you're there all night breathing through your mouth, whilst you're not conscious, you're out. You're not actually fully getting into a deep sleep. So you'll track things on like your Aura or your Whoop, and you'll notice your deep sleep is affected. You won't actually drop into a deep sleep. Your HRV will be affected as well. So all these things are trying to bring people back to breathing through the nose.
And I'm assuming these will all be linked to actual longevity of life as well. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Great book to read if you haven't, you're fascinated with breathing. It's called Breath by James Nestor. And he speaks about even way back in like ancient tribes, there's stories of them going round and looking at the children in the middle of the night and spotting if their mouth was open and closing it. And they didn't have the science. They didn't have anything to back it up, but they knew. And they would close the child's chin and they would make sure that the lips were sealed so that they were breathing through their nose. And now that that's carried through, they actually did experiments on monkeys where they stuffed their noses up and they could only breathe through their mouth and their facial structure changed. Then they took it out, their facial structure rebuilt itself. And the same thing happens in humans too. Like our facial structure changes if you breathe through your mouth. Your eyes will sag, your jaw will be set back, you won't have good cheekbone definition, your eyes will be tired. Whereas if you breathe through the nose, you can actually tell a nose breather by the way they look.
Oh.
Yeah, why?
Yeah. Do you think that if, I'm talking about consumerism now, like this is so simple, it's free, you don't need any fancy gadgets, there's no separator from rich to poor.
Yeah.
Do you think if there was, there'd be a lot more uptake, or because it's so easy, it gets kind of overlooked and underestimated at all?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I say this to my students all the time when they're like, is that all? I'm like, yeah, that's all. What's the catch? Nothing.
Yeah.
There's got to be more. No, it's not the fucking Da Vinci Code. Like it's literally just breathing. But you're right. I think as humans, we lack complexity in things. We want things there has to be more to it. There's not more to it. And because it is free and because it's accessible, it's really overlooked. Yeah.
We spoke about how stressful business can be. And it sounds like you've been on 2 business journeys. Like before you're a PT, high functioning, before you found breathwork, and then now obviously what you've built now.
Yeah.
What do you see as the differences in yourself as a founder and entrepreneur?
Definitely ability to emotionally regulate. I was saying this to some of my students in my mastermind the other day. I'm like, what's the most important skill in business? Is it marketing, sales, like public speaking? What is it? What makes you the most money? Like sales, marketing. I'm like, emotional regulation. Because none of that works unless you work. None of it. if you can't think straight, how can you make great moves in business? So I think the difference for me between where I was then to now is not that I have this perfect bulletproof nervous system. It's just that I'm self-aware and I have the tools to know that I need to regulate. I need to keep myself in a good emotional state, because as soon as I'm not, everyone suffers. My team suffer, my work suffers, my clients suffer, all the results suffer. So I would say that, yeah, that's the biggest difference. There's obviously a whole lot more that I've learned from a tactical perspective, like heaps more, so much more skill than I had back then, and more experience on my side, more hard knocks as well. But that's the biggest thing. And I think everyone can probably at least get another 20% on top of what they're doing right now just by changing the way they feel daily.
Would you say it helps your personal relationships as well? Because we obviously spoke about, we've both got 2 kids before we hit record. And that can be really difficult. And especially when work's stressful, you come home, you've had a shit day and you want to come home and just be dad and be present. Because you're, to them, you're everything, right? 100%. And you just want to come and give them a good evening. But sometimes it's so hard to just have that separation of, I've had a shit day, I'm super stressed. Now I can't, it's impossible to just flip back into, oh, hey, how are we all?
And you find it hard to switch off as well sometimes?
Yeah, or 24/7, mate. I'm lying in bed at 9 o'clock at night and I get an idea for a piece of content. All of my content ideas come when I'm lying next to my 3-year-old putting her to bed. And I have to wait until she's asleep to then get my phone out to email it to myself because I don't want my attention to be off her.
Isn't that so cool though, that's when it happens though? Have you noticed?
Yeah, because I'm relaxed. You say about slowing down.
Yeah, you're laying there, you've got space, you're letting your mind probably just run wild for a little bit, your nervous system's relaxed, you've got,
not on the phone.
You got your beautiful daughter next to you, you're feeling really, and so things start to drop in. And I think this is the hardest part of entrepreneurship, especially if you're a parent. Like building a business with kids is not the same as building a business without children. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it. It's way harder in my opinion. And a lot of that it's trying to switch off too and be present. Firstly, I don't think it's actually possible for an entrepreneur.
No,
I don't think it is. And I think that you have to have a level of self-acceptance that you're probably always going to be thinking about it. And if you didn't, you wouldn't be as good as what you are at what you do.
Yeah.
But in the same respect, there have also been times where, I've caught myself, and you might have too, where you're not as present as you want to be.
Definitely.
And so what I've noticed, and my partner actually made me aware of this, and my mates actually use it for ammunition now, but men actually need something called transition time. And to go from like one role to the next, we need to have something in between that separates that thing. So if you don't have that built into like your routine yet, something that actively helps you switch off, you need to build it in. And that's why you see a lot of blokes, like they'll take their phone to the shitter and they'll just sit there for half an hour on it before they like go and do anything else. They're transitioning. They have to switch off one box in their mind, switch into the other. So for me, I'm conscious of that. And so working from home is hard. But
I can't do it.
Yeah, it's really hard. But it's having some sort of ritual and a practice that I can down-regulate myself and bring myself into the present and try to let that stuff go for a moment. And so breathing, again, being a simple, effective way to do that, that's what I lean into. How can I regulate myself enough to just be here?
I'd need to start, like I've got into the habit of when I get home, I pull over at the top of our road.
Transition time.
Yeah, just transition
that's
where
what it is, man.
Because in the car journey on the way home, and I open my phone. I go, cool. Has anything happened at work? Any emails that are critical? Any text messages? And then maybe this is me trying to regulate myself in the hypo. I'd go like and just have a scroll on Instagram for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But that for me is that separation between the craziness of work, and then I drive down the hill slowly. I get out of the car and I just feel like I can be a bit more present. That's that transition time.
That's transition time.
Maybe I need to replace the Instagram with a bit of Breathwork.
Maybe, I mean, it could help. I mean, I do that too, man. I think probably the thing that we're liking about that is it's just mindless. It's the first part of our day where we're like, I'm just going to be a zombie and not think. I'm just going to consume and not think and not create and not lead and not have to use my brain because it feels fried. So I think that that's probably what we're seeking. And you can create that same feeling through other ways, such as breathwork. You can create that mindlessness through breathing.
I think some of the things you're saying, like also recently, time has been our biggest enemy. And we did bite off more than we could chew at the end of last year. But even now, although we've kind of parked some of those ideas or streamlined things, I still now feel like I've always got a million tabs open in my brain, and I'll start one thing on the computer, then another thing, then something goes on my phone. I think maybe that regulation of just bringing things down a notch
Yeah, absolutely.
Can definitely help. That deep focus. So a lot of the work I'm reading or podcasts, people talk about those deep focus blocks. It doesn't necessarily need to be a 12-hour work day. If you can sit into a deep focus or deep work block of 3 to 4 hours, you can go and absolutely smash it. And weirdly, I go to a cafe on the work from home day because I struggle to work from home. And because there's no other distractions in that cafe other than people walking around, but I'm not interested in them, they're not interested in me. It's just me, my laptop. And that's where I do my best work. Even here, where it's the office environment, there's team members that need you. Me and Ads, something comes to the brain and we're discussing stuff. Like there's just so much noise.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Oh, it's fucked.
Because again, it was sickeningly like I kind of enjoy that feeling as well. Yeah. Like yesterday, I did probably 3 days worth of work in one day.
Yeah.
Because I was just doing 3 things at once, going from here to here to here. While that tab's loading, I'm on a different one, sorting that out. And it's great, but it's got a fucking short fuse. Yeah. By the end of it, like today, it feels like Friday. I'm wrecked already. It's fucking Tuesday.
Yeah. I honestly think that there's elements to this conversation that, yes, nervous system regulation, yes, breath work, but then I just think there's also entrepreneurship. And I think it's who we are. And I know what I'm like. The minute I get too much space, I'm like, what the fuck do I do with myself? What's the thing? Like where? And then you go around, you tinker and you just keep busy.
How'd you deal with guilt?
Oh, great question. Guilt related to?
Not doing enough.
Yeah, fuck. That is like my core wound, I reckon. Like it follows me around like a fucking plague. How do I deal with it? I don't have the answers, I'm still figuring that one out. That's my honest answer. I feel it all the time. And the only way that it sort of quiets itself down is if I am truly productive and I do the things that I say I'm going to do during the week. And I do my very best not to get distracted on those things. If I feel like I've done good, productive work, I don't feel that. But if I've been flitting about here and there and getting distracted and doing this, I get to the end of my day and you might have put in 12 hours and you're like, nothing really moved that far. And that's when the guilt can kick in. How am I doing all this, but I still don't feel like I'm doing enough?
That's the male neurological system though, isn't it? So. Because the feedback loop for males, like we thrive off achievement and learning and completion of tasks. So you go and set those goals in the week. That dopamine release we get as males from completing those and you feel good, and then you set the next goals. And it's just that constant feedback 100%. Loop in your brain compared to the weeks where you do feel like a busy idiot and you've been so busy and you're so tired, but you get to the end of it and you go, what have I achieved or what have I learned? And it's nothing because you've just been running around like a headless chook. You don't ever complete that feedback loop, which then gives you the dopamine kick, which makes you have a better weekend with your partners, and then you can actually switch out. It's toxic, isn't it?
And that's why I don't know if there's a cure for it.
I'm thinking, do you cure it with input or do you cure it with output? So what I mean by that is if you work 12 hours a day every day of the week, but you haven't necessarily got the output that you expected, are you happy? Or if you go and work 2 days a week, but over those 2 days, you manage to go and hit that goal. But you fill 3 jobs what is it, recruitment, whatever it is, and you're making X amount of money. Does that then satisfy?
I think it's the output.
It's the output.
Output, 100%. It's very much outcome focused because that's what you're getting the feedback loop from. Did I hit that? Yes, I did. I feel good about myself. I feel good. And that dopamine, that is the thing that also allows you to be present with your partner, your kids. You can switch off, job done, whereas if you don't achieve it, it's the opposite.
One thing that goes through my brain, again, recruitment focus here, is you could do a perfect process, working with a client, briefs done, interviews are great, everyone's prepped, offer management, and then there's always a time where the offer's been presented to the candidate and it might be 4:00 on a Monday and they're going to say, yeah, great, I'll give you a call in the morning. And that for 14-hour period
is hell.
You just go, oh, what about this? What about that? But then I'm like, my whole happiness in life can't be dependent on this person saying yes or no. I know I've done everything that I could have and should have done. If he decides that it's not for him, that can't ruin my life.
No. But it still hurts.
100%, for sure.
You can't make it not hurt. It's rejection.
It's
rejection. It's never not going to hurt. Your primitive brain hates it. You want people to say yes to you.
And then I'm like, well, fuck, if it's a no, just tell me it's a no. I don't like the uncertainty.
Don't give me any ambiguity.
I love bad news. I just hate no news.
100%. It's that sitting in the limbo. Yeah, unbearable, man.
And as you can tell, Ads is impatient, right? You said count your breaths for 60 seconds, and he's trying to negotiate the breathwork master down to 30, and you can't. I love it. Back to your outcome thing. I was watching a video the other day. Steve Jobs, the way he ran his entire life. So you have your list of 50 things that need doing. What are the 5 most critical ones that you need to complete in the next 18 hours? That's all he used to focus on. No external noise. He goes, on this list, what are the 5 most critical things that I have to do in the next 18 hours to achieve business, family goals, whatever it is?
Yep.
Do them. The next day comes around, next 5.
Yeah.
And that's how
it's
he
kind of
operated.
like the Ivy Lee method. You guys heard of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, similar concept to that. I'm a list person as well. When I get lazy and I don't use them, boom. But this morning I actually drew out the list. And like, there's fuckloads going on in my life right now. I'm moving, running a business, kids on school holidays. Oh my Lord. But I wrote everything out, 5 things. They're all done like within a couple of hours.
Yeah. Bang.
Wild. And the dopamine of like, okay, I can come down to this podcast, I can relax, I can enjoy the conversation. My head's not going to be back there. Simply from having that clarity.
I do wonder, we're in a bit of a journey at the moment of building structure at Hartwell.
Yeah.
There's a lot of billing pressure on me and Harves and Andy because they're a bit top heavy in non-billing stuff.
Yeah.
We've just hired 3 more, which is good. So that's getting shared. And hopefully in July we'll hire 2 more.
Yeah.
So us to build big numbers is a cherry on top as opposed to keeping the lights on. So hopefully we can have time to do other bits and pieces, work on the business, top of funnel stuff, networking, golf days, whatever it is. 2 parts to this. I always time in the diary is a bit scary for someone who's used to chaos. This is something we learned from Jess. So if you come from a chaotic childhood, you actually love chaos. And when you haven't got that, you try and find it. And then the second one is my own kind of ego. So my thing is like, I like being, look at the scoreboard. Yeah, Adam's at the top. You know what I mean? That's got my own standards and being competitive. I love that kind of my own personal reputation, right? Everyone else probably thinks I'm a wanker. Yeah. So in 12 months' time, as a leader, you've got to obviously share some of that pie. Hey, team, here's a couple of clients, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So then hopefully they're at the top of the leaderboard, which gives me actually what I want because it gives me them more time. But straight surface level, well, now Albie is the best bidder in the office.
It's that change. We had this chat. It'd probably be 6 to 8 months ago when we had the strategy plan of we need to build out a structure. And I said, the big thing for you got to reframe your mindset. Your scoreboard is now the monthly P&L. Yeah. I was like, that's the score that matters to you. Because I'm like, you do 100K, but no one else bills and it's red at the end of the month. I was like, we're fucked. Yeah. I was like, if you do 0, but the business does 500K this month and it's 300K in the green. Yeah. We're good. We're off to fucking Fiji. So, but it is again, because the reason we came out as entrepreneurs and started this business and did well is because we were consistently the highest performers in a massive global business where you don't give a shit about the P&L. Yeah. You care about what's on that board, one from ego, but also it puts more money in your pocket. Of course. So it's probably that business maturity that we've both got to go through. Of course. Even now, we're 2 weeks into the month and I'm going, okay, I might only put 2 deals through the door this month, not 4 or 5. Yeah. I'm stepping back. Well, yeah, because that's because I spent the whole of last week onboarding 3 new staff, which will hopefully put 10 deals through the door a month between them. It's just that mind fuck of you're used to having the big numbers on the door.
I think it's a natural part of growing too. There's a bit of a slingshot thing happening. You pull back to go forward. We're at a similar stage in our business where most of it is systemized to the point where I'm doing delivery, but the only thing that is hard to get out of is sales. And so you bring on team and then, you got to expect that they're not going to probably close like you do. And then you've got to coach them. And then there's that point of like, fuck, like I'm going to have to step back in here. And there's just like this to and fro. But I think, if you're ever going to build something where you don't have to be in it all the time, then you've got to be able to deal with the highs and lows.
You got to go for it.
And that is stressful too. That affects your nervous system too, especially if you're like high performers and you've got your sights set high.
Yeah. I don't think as a business owner you ever come out of the sales side of it. And Ads talks about guilt, and that's because this end goal that we've painted, it is us going to networking events. It's us going to golf days. It's us going out entertaining clients. So we're still doing the sales, but our involvement of which stage we're at in the funnel or the sales cycle is just changing. Yeah. So it's now really our magic and our superpower is that top of funnel. It's going to an event where naturally we're good blokes. People tend to radiate to us, so we can actually win people over and talk. So that's the top of funnel. Okay, you've got a business. You need a head of finance. Man, I need to put you in touch with Danny in my team. He's been in senior finance and worked for some of Australia's largest companies.
Yeah.
He's got his finger on the pulse. He's the guy that will go and action this and do the delivery for you.
Yeah.
It's us being comfortable with being that top of funnel and then pushing you down into the right areas.
Yeah.
So that's how we've probably, in our brain, justified getting over the guilt of doing fun shit like networking events and golf days.
Yeah, 100%. It sounds like you guys are just not aiming to be in the technician aspects of it as much. On the phones all the time, making sales on the phone. I don't know how you guys, acquire clients, but yeah, there's various levels to your business. Technician, manager, CEO. But yeah, there's no magic pill, man. I don't have the answers to success.
Just breathing through your nose.
Breathe through your nose, man. Just breathe through your nose. That's a good place to start.
Mate,
when you work it out, let me know.
Yeah, that's honestly been class. Like we've gone through down so many different rabbit holes. I think one thing that we wanted to give the listeners is as much value and knowledge about breath work and how it can impact their lives so positively.
Yeah.
But also what we're hoping is that people do want to come and find you and learn about it more and work with you as a byproduct of that.
Yeah, great.
So if someone is listening and going, fuck, I need to go and speak to you, where can they find you?
Yeah, best place is probably Instagram. That's the best social media platform to reach out. We do have a website as well. So it's infinitytrainingandcoaching.com, or you can just follow me on Instagram. And then everything's from there. You can access everything from my profile. All of our trainings, all of our resources. And if you just want to have a chat and you're curious and you have questions, then like my inbox is always open as well.
Yeah, awesome. We'll get all that information off you as well, and we'll chuck it in the notes for the guys and tag you on all the online content so it's nice and easy for people to find you.
Yeah, beautiful. Awesome.
Mate, thanks for coming down. That
was class.
No, you're welcome, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, mate.
Hey guys, it's Jake and Lockie from Naturally Cooked Sunscreen, and we are pumped to be sponsoring the Two Blokes, One Business podcast.
We're on a mission to foster a generation of Australians who take sun safety more seriously and encourage it amongst their mates. You can find us at naturallycook.com.au or follow us at Naturally Cooked Sunscreen.